Hello, happy campers. We have returned episode 2 of Backrack Video, along with Who Da Thunk. Like I said, I'm Spike, and that's Chris. We are going to be actually turning it over to Chris this week. He's going to be talking about now. Okay, let me re-explain the concept real quick. Backrack Video, the back racks in the video store was where all the good old stuff was, because all the stuff in the front of the store sucks. Okay. So every week we look at something older that we think you should. We would suggest to you. Give it a try. Basically, if we owned a video store, this is what we would be suggesting to some of you.
Yeah, and we also will be going through genres, different genres, and you know, we'll talk about certain actors and their careers, and we'll talk about TV shows, and we'll talk about, you know, special effects and stunts, whatever. You know, movies that you may have forgotten exist, or you didn't even know.
Yeah, you didn't even know existed. So
yeah.
So trust me, for all you guys who are watching this show right now, you owe Ray Harryhausen a lot more credit than you ever gave him. So especially if you don't even know the name, we'll clue you in some other time, some other episode. But for now, Chris, take it away.
Yes. So today we are going to be talking about 90s kids movies, okay? Now, first of all, let me explain, all right? Back in, and yes, I'm going to say this, back in my day, we didn't go...
Back in his day.
Back in my day, we didn't get home until the streetlights came on. You remember that?
Oh, I was up till like 3 or 4 o'clock every morning. So go right ahead.
Well, he was older than me, but...
I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning listening to Chicken Man on double Q, so... because they had to burn the episodes off somehow.
But, I remember...
I'm one of like 3 people in the state of Kentucky who remember Chicken Man. Go ahead.
I remember during Halloween, and I will mention this again on our Halloween episode in October, but like I remember in school they would give you like glow-in-the-dark stickers and like pumpkin pails, and you would go out and trick-or-treat until like 10 o'clock at night. Nowadays it's like for 2 hours and the sun's still up. You know?
And it's from people's trunks because nobody trusts you on the street.
Yeah, you gotta go like boo around town or like trunk or treat type of stupid stuff, and it's like it. Back then we had freedom. Okay, now
hashtag free range children. Go ahead.
Yes. Now kids movies always had adventure, fantasy, and there's always an animal involved. They don't make kid movies nowadays. Now, am I right? Seriously, when I mention the movies, you're going to be like, wow, you know what? They don't make these movies anymore. What's up with that?
I'm a few bars. Let me see what I...
Well, I brought 2 movies with me. Well, actually more than 2. First of all, I brought this movie, Jungle to Jungle, starring Tim Allen. This movie is basically about Tim Allen plays a dad who got a divorce and never told him that he is actually a father. He goes and gets the divorce. He's like marrying some really stuck-up woman who's like rich. And he goes to find his wife because the marriage is still, you know, annulled or whatever it's called. And he finds out he has a son. Of course, they lived with like this tribe for like on an island in the middle of the Amazon for like, I don't know how long. He's like 13 years old now. So all he knows is the way tribes work and all of that stuff. So Tim Allen is like convinced in just taking his son that he never knew he had to New York City. So it's like a fish out of water story, but it's so much fun and wild and crazy and just plain awesome. It's a really good movie. It's funny. Then I've got a family pack here that has multiple films, 4 films. And if you cannot tell, we have The Little Rascals, Casper, Flipper, and Leave It to Beaver. Now I'm going to be really honest. I bought this because Little Rascals, Casper, and Flipper. I did not like Leave It to Beaver. But, whatever. The Little Rascals is a classic movie. I know you've heard of The Little Rascals. And I'm not talking about the TV show, even though the TV show was classic. But everybody knows this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Casper, starring Christina Ricci and, what's his name, Bill Pullman, I think it is.
Bill Pullman, yeah.
Bill Pullman, yeah. Fantastic movie. A different look on Casper that, honestly, it gave like that spooky but really fun and comical vibe. Because with the three uncles, Stinky, what were their names?
Trying to remember the ghostly
Stinky,
trio, and Fatso.
Fatso, yes. Who were hilarious. And during that time, you got to remember, family comedy dark worked. Because we're talking about, like the Addams Family movies. Casper kind of just lined up right in that same arena of just like kooky fun with spooky, love it. Flipper, I'm nuts about Crocodile Dundee, okay? This movie was like the first movie I saw where he was not playing Crocodile Dundee, and I'm talking about Paul Hogan, with Elijah Wood. And of course, if you know the TV show Flipper, then it's
a show about a dolphin.
Yeah, but it was really good. I liked it. Mm-hmm. Leave It to Beaver. It's just about an annoying kid on the block. Kind of like Dennis the Menace, except Dennis the Menace was kind of more likable. I guess you could say. He just seemed to be more likable than Leave It to Beaver, in a way. But
which is weird because the original TV show Beaver Cleaver was a lot more palatable than Dennis the Menace was.
Yes. But, even the Dennis the Menace movie as well that came out in the 90s. Dennis the Menace was, always terrorized his neighbor, played by Walter Matthau.
Mm-hmm.
Matthau. Well, yeah. Anyway.
He was slumming.
Then it was you got this small, perfect neighborhood with, white picket fence and stuff like that. You got this one kid that was just, a menace to society and kind of didn't mean to, but he just it kind of was like Bart Simpson, pretty much. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, you have Christopher Lloyd playing this street thuggish homeless guy that liked to rob houses. And then he kidnaps Dennis the Menace, and just it was just so fun. Do you remember? It is
Never
so
saw
good.
This movie.
It is really good.
This is yours.
This is really good.
Yeah.
But it was that fun adventure type of movies that really, really just made you feel like you was unstoppable. Back in the day, it was sticks and stones, may break your bones, but words don't hurt me. Nowadays, it's everything hurts me. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I got a list of movies here, of kid movies, mm-hmm. that happened in the 90s that you may have heard of, you may not, you may have seen, but if you have not, go back and check these movies out. Little Giants. Okay? Little Giants had Rick Moranis and Ed O'Neill from Married with Children, who were brothers in a small town. One was famous, the other one was not. Rick Moranis played the little brother that was always in the shadows of his big brother.
You can see why he sympathizes, right?
Wow. And they decided to start a football team. And who would win would get his name on the, a water tower with the older brother's name on it. And the little brother wants part of that. He just wants to be noticed by his big brother. pretty much. So, they start a small league of football players who are like these wild and
Crazy kids.
misfit, crazy kids.
Kind of like Bad News Bears play football.
Exactly. So it was good. It was really good. It was fun. And you had a lot of sports movies back then as well, with like Sandlots, The Mighty Ducks. I mean, oh my goodness. Like, they were just, great. I'm sorry. The nostalgia of the 90s.
I remember Disney went all meta with the Mighty Ducks too, because Disney actually actually bought an NHL franchise in Anaheim, California, and named them the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
So the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, the NHL team. That was they eventually, I think, became the Ducks, but they changed into something else now, I think. But I don't care. Hockey.
But then you had movies like Matilda,
which was actually a fairly decent movie. Yeah.
About a little girl that had powers, and she's in a family that she was the smartest kid in the family, because the family was like really like, I don't want to say trailer park.
They were hard,
but they were played by Danny DeVito and Rachel Perlman or Sarah
Perlman.
Rhea Perlman.
His real life wife. Yeah. They did that as for fun. Yeah.
Yeah, who also wrote and directed the Matilda movie.
Yeah.
As well. And it was just a great fantasy story. It was another good one. Hook. Steven Spielberg's Hook.
I have a hook. Yeah.
Yeah, Robin Williams playing an adult Hook.
An adult Peter Pan, yes. Because Dustin Hoffman was Hook, and all anybody did that year was do Rain Man as Captain Hook. So I have a hook. I have a hook. It's a hook.
That was good. Honestly, Hook was actually, like, to me, the best Peter Pan story I've ever heard.
I will give Hook credit for one thing. Because of Hook, we got Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates, where we got the real honest-to-goodness Hook, Tim Curry, which was...
Oh, my goodness, I forgot about those.
That was so much better than it deserved to be. But
yes.
And that's another one you don't see anywhere anymore. You really got to hunt for Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates.
Thank you. That was so good. Yes, yes.
You'll notice as he goes through in all these 90s kids movies, you'll see movies going to TV and TV coming to movies. Just about all the ones you said on that multi-pack are spin-offs. They're remakes of Little Rascals and Casper and Dennis the Menace and Leave It to Beaver and stuff. But it's just, it was part of the synergy back then.
Yeah, and it just kept going until
Nickelodeon almost perfected it there, because they were doing like Rugrats movies and Wild Thornberries and Good Burger, which we were just talking about. Good Burger 2
actually,
in
Good
the pipeline.
Burger was on the list too.
Good Burger.
Yes.
Good Burger. Now you're actually talking about something I know, because Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, those two guys would kind of be like a kid version of, say, Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock. Okay. And Kenan Thompson, of course, he's known for SNL now. Kel Mitchell, I don't know what Kel's doing. I honestly don't. I don't think Kel has to do anything, but except drink orange soda. But he's just the synergy you saw between TV and movies, especially once the FCC started cracking down on advertising in kids shows and educational informative shows, and murdered Saturday morning television. Thank you so much, Tipper Gore. I blame her, little hussy. But anyway, what else you got on your list?
We already talked about Georgia the Jungle on our last on Geeking Out, because we were talking about Brendan Fraser.
That's another TV remake from the '60s. Jay Ward, my goodness, that was.
It was.
Could talk about doing something with nothing. Jay Ward could do no wrong, because Jay Ward did George of the Jungle and Rocky and Bullwinkle and Mr. Peabody and Sherman and Dudley Do-Right and so many others. He was like a high-class Hanna-Barbera. But
good stuff. Richie Rich. Oh, listen. Macaulay Culkin was the kid in the 90s, okay? I mean, after Home Alone, his career skyrocketed for like 4 or 5 years, and then it disappeared for a while. But, like, in those years, oh, man. We're talking about, like, great kid trouble comedy. You know, like, he was always that kid that was into everything, like Dennis the Menace, and caused a ruckus. But at the same time, it was like, man, these movies are like, you know, they hold a special thing. Richie Rich is just a spoiled rich kid in a mansion with a family that are rich, but they're not stuck up, really.
mm-hmm.
And
no, the Riches were never stuck up
yeah,
in the comics.
they like the was it their butler? No, it was
the
the
Butler
handler.
Cadbury and their robot maid Irona.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call her Iron Maiden. I don't know why. But
but the movie itself was
his Dalmatian dollar.
Oh yeah.
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 Not a Dalmatian, a Dalmatian. He's got little dollar bills instead of spots. It is such an awesome concept, and it's one that deserves to be resurrected because it's just one of those things. It focuses on little kids.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing little kids would look like. Is wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was.
To have all the money in the world, and not be as stuck up as like Uncle Scrooge. Because Uncle Scrooge needs to get. Uncle Scrooge was an adrenaline junkie. He needed his fix before he became presentable. Richie Rich always had the heart of gold. His heart was always in the right place, but he could always find the longest way to do anything. Because honestly, Richie Rich, any position, any problem you give Richie Rich, he could solve in like the first panel of a comic book story because he'd just pay everybody off.
Yes.
No.
It was yeah, it's a good movie. Actually, I think you can find that one on.
You'll have to hunt.
I know I saw that somewhere. I just can't remember where it was. But yeah, that was a good one. Of course, Home Alone. Again. Wow, another Macaulay Culkin movie, The Page Master.
Boy, thank you so much.
Is that a or a?
I was getting tired of Macaulay Culkin with the first Home Alone movie because just how overexposed it was. The Page Master. I'm not going to say a thing about the Page Master because their heart was in the right place again, but.
Another movie that was overdone because I loved it, but I kept on thinking, how many times do you have to save this whale? But I'm talking about Free Willy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Free Willy was a good movie, good concept, with a good soundtrack by Michael Jackson. But then they went in to do the sequel, third, fourth, fifth. And it's like, okay, let the whale die. Seriously, like, how many times do we have to say this thing?
Willie was actually a killer whale, so he could have just killed everybody, just like that. But no.
But I remember the first time, like when the first movie came out, I remember the only reason why anybody actually wanted to see Free Willy was not just because it had to do with a big whale. But that scene where the kid's out there on the rocks, he raises his hand, and the whale jumps over him to where his fingertips touch the bottom of the whale.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that also gets ruined with Family Guy in two different ways.
Family Guy ruins everything.
There's a scene where the whale, falls on him, and I don't know if it was Family Guy, but there was something else where the whale did it, and the whale had an erect. And the kid gets slapped.
Sounds more like Rick and Morty than anything else.
Yeah, so that happens. Movies like Heavyweights. Probably the only Ben Stiller movie that I will actually watch.
Okay, you're going to have to hum a few bars of that.
All right, Heavyweights is a movie about a kids at a fat camp.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. It was actually directed, I believe, by Ben Stiller as well. And the fat camp is like, you know, it's just all these kids, famous kids from famous movies. You had the kid that played in the Addams Family, the kid, two of the kids from Mighty Ducks, Sandlot. You know, there was a bunch of movies. Okay, a bunch of kid movies back then that, you know, if you saw these kids in other films, you're like, oh my goodness, that's so and so. You know, it was fun. But anyway, just a bunch of heavy-set kids having fun during the summer, and then all of a sudden, new owners take over the camp, and they decide to turn it into a weight loss camp or whatever. So the guy is like nuts about gym and working out, and makes the kids lose weight and enter a competition and so on and so on, and he's really extreme. But it was such a fun movie. It was good. I love it. The Flintstones. Surprisingly, the Flintstones movie. Look.
We gotta sit down and talk about John Goodman one of these days.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's another episode of Backrack Video I'm looking at doing is slob humor.
Slob humor.
It's either going to be about slob humor or Doug Kenny. I'll explain it later.
Slob humor. You have to.
But John Goodman in the Flintstones. All right, I'll give you that one. Tell them what all actually happened in that.
I mean, the Flintstones basically. I mean, if you don't know who the Flintstones are, then you really are stupid. Sorry, I'm just going to call you out. You're stupid. Sorry. Actually, no, I'm not. You're stupid. Listen, the Flintstones, based off of the cartoon, is the live-action movie that was actually good. You didn't think it would be good, but it was actually fun. You had John Goodman as Fred Flintstone. You had Rick Moranis as Barney Rubble. You had Rosie O'Donnell as, I can't remember.
Betty.
As Betty. And I don't know the actress.
There's always one. He can't remember her
Yeah,
name.
there's that one.
And I don't care enough to be able to tell you. It's probably Scarlett Johansson in an early role.
I don't know.
We'll say this.
It's
It's always Scarlett Johansson in an early role.
I don't even know she was born when that movie came out. But anyway, it's basically the Flintstones, you know, showing their life, and Fred ends up like I'm trying to remember. It's like you can move up in management. Like they made like the company that they worked for is like, hey, we need an scapegoat because we're in trouble. So let's get these workers to like take a test, and whoever wins, that will be our scapegoat. So they're taking a test. Barney ends up switching out the test because he knows his buddy Fred is like failing at it, and he thinks, you know, he thinks he's doing a good deed. So he does it. Fred ends up scoring higher than everybody else. Gets up there, and now he's higher up. He's getting all this money, and now he has to choose to fire a bunch of people, which includes his friends, best friends. And then he finds out that the company has a secret, and yada yada yada. But it was really a fun film to watch.
Yeah. Corporate downsizing is always fun for a family.
But yeah, I mean, those movies, I mean, like the 90s kids films back then that, like, I mean, Wild America. You remember Wild America? It was a TV show about nature, okay? It was about these brothers that actually went out and caught on film things that nobody else can catch, of like bears and eagles and all kinds of stuff like that. And they made a movie called Wild America based on the brothers, and that was Oh, I love that movie. I can't find it, but I want it so badly. There's so many out there. I mean, the Addams Family movies. The list keeps going. And if you really pay attention, they don't make those movies nowadays. There is no actual kids movies. And I'm not talking about Disney cartoon films or superhero films or Harry Potter. I'm talking about kids going on an adventure. Kids being kids.
They don't think kids are a market anymore. You can see that. You can see that reflected in how Disney Channel and Disney XD are treated. You can see it in how Nickelodeon's treated. You can see it.
Sad.
See how Cartoon Network's been treated. Heck, even Boomerang, which basically was kids shows from the past, that's been adulterated into who knows what by now. Nobody in Hollywood respects kids as an audience anymore. Not even Nickelodeon does. All they still have is that green slime. But that's just been endemic. There needs to be a concentrated effort to get back to addressing children directly. Believe it or not, the best things I've seen here recently have actually been things like the Tuttle Twins, which is a streaming show on the Angel Studios app about kids who go back and forth in history with their Jewish grandmother to learn about different aspects of America and stuff. But that's the only kids show I could name from the last 5 years. So
See, that's the thing. Like, there was so many of those shows back then. Like, shows like that. There was a show called Wishbone.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Ghost Rider.
PBS Kids used to. Oh, we could do a whole thing about kids shows like Fox Kids and PBS Kids Go and
I mean, you had
the Kids WB.
Oh yeah, I mean, you had it all. I mean, and like you said, even the movies was turned into cartoon shows. Like, I mean, there was a Back to the Future cartoon series about Doc's kids, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There was a show, and I kid you not, there was a show called James Bond Jr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
I mean,
there was
so much going on.
And even you could even go into the Disney afternoon stuff. I mean, for goodness sake, DuckTales threw out a movie.
We should save that for a whole new show as well, because there's so many.
Just to get into the relationship Goofy had.
Oh yeah,
with the Disney afternoon. Well, no, he did a Goofy movie, and then he did the TV show, and then they did the movie based on the TV show. So that's for another time, though.
But I mean, you guys see what I'm saying. I mean, by the list that I gave you, that was all 90s.
There's plenty of material to be mined there from the 90s, because that really was the last hurrah of the kids stuff. But
that might be part of what's wrong with this generation too. To be honest, it's like they don't have nothing like that.
They were never allowed to have stuff of their own.
It's like, you'll put your eye out, but then it's like, well, if you don't do it, then you'll never learn.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we was doing it in the 90s. It's like
the closest thing to a kids show now is Stranger Things. Something I wouldn't let a kid watch.
That is actually true. Stranger Things is I think that's why.
That is the kids show kids shouldn't watch.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, anybody can do a science fiction show, but the fact that they wrote these kids as kids, I think that's why Stranger Things is the best on television.
That's why it reverberates. Yeah.
Even
because they respect their source material. Yes.
Even the remake of It, the first movie, the reason why everybody loved it was because of the kids. They actually talked and acted like kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's like that magic. It's like, yeah, this is why we like it.
But again, I wouldn't let a kid go within a zip code of watching it. Either version.
But okay, I'll give you another one. All right, let's just put this out here, because this is really something that has bothered me. Boy Meets World. Okay, I grew up with Boy Meets World. That show was amazing. Did it deal with adult problems? Yes, it did. But once in a while, not every episode. When they did a show called Girl Meets World, these two girls did not talk like their age at all.
Mm-hmm.
There was adult problems every episode. Life lesson to learn every episode. It got like, oh, you're preaching to me now. It was like, this was what it feels like. You're preaching to me. Stop it. It's like, I know these things. These kids are too young to know these things. Why are we worried about this?
Well, it's the same reason they keep trying to gender confuse children. Children are a resource to be exploited to make a message. And that's part of the reason why we don't see that many kids shows or kids movies anymore either, for that matter. Nobody treats kids with respect. Nobody treats kids with respect. You know, the only people who are treating kids with respect right now? Christian filmmakers. That's the only ones I'm seeing because they want the kids to learn. Actually, the last thing that I probably would have shown kids would have been, what was the one Warren Buffett did? Money Kids, Money Team, something like that. It was a little while back on PBS, but it was Warren Buffett, the billionaire, who would host a cartoon show for kids to teach them about economics and economic issues and stuff. And even that's one of those schmarmy educational, informative things. It's not like it was Beetlejuice, which the TV show was awesome for kids. The movie, not so much.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of what they did, and it was just like back then nobody really cared,
Yeah.
you know. And it was
And
fun.
again, free range children.
But it's like there's a whole difference. So it's like if you want that nostalgia, if you remember any of these movies, or if you want to experience stuff like this and how amazing it was, then there's a whole list of movies out there. I mean, that's how I found this list. I just put in 90s kids movies, and there was a whole list, and I was just sitting there going, oh wow, yes, you know, I was just like nostalgia all over the place. Like I was just like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. So yes, I mean, there's so many, and I will leave you with a little knowledge from the 90s kids movies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first kid actor to make 1 million for a movie? First kid actor to earn 1 million for a movie.
Ross Perot. No. He was just the size of a child. I'm sorry. He's actually 80, 90 years old.
Wow, that's a big
I know.
joke.
Macaulay
That was a
Culkin,
bad
I guess.
Joke. Yes, Macaulay Culkin. But now, guess what movie? Now, I know he's not going to get this, and you won't either. But
The Good Son.
no. But very good mention right there. The Good Son
was not a kid's
is
movie.
actually a good movie.
That was
now.
not a kid's
It's
movie.
not a kid's movie.
Don't show that to the kids.
Not a kid's movie, but a very good movie.
That's part of the problem with kids' movies. We sit here and we start talking about kids' movies. We start talking about other things been in that you should never show children. Okay, what movie? So we can go ahead and wrap this and move on with our lives.
The movie was My Girl.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, My Girl. Let this up.
But on the good note, he dies in the film. So. Oh, spoiler alert!
You're so bad. But I mean,
I hate Macaulay Culkin. I really did. I did back then. I hated his guts.
But yeah, I mean, there was some really great movies back in the 90s. If you know any movies that I have not mentioned, or any movies, or if you guys want something for us to talk about on this new show of ours, please, any genre, actors, whatever.
Should I put you on the spot?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're talking. We're discussing behind the scenes about dedicating an episode of Geeking Out to determining whether Star Trek is actually worth watching or not.
Oh, You know what? Maybe we shouldn't.
No. We must confront this. Okay.
No.
Here's the thing.
Uh,
Where do you talking about Star Trek? Where's the cutoff line? When did it start? When did it stop being cool, and when did it start sucking? I've got an idea. We've got somebody else who has an idea. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He can go skip moderator or something if he wants. But I can tell you what my opinion would be, but that would be coming up shortly on Geeking Out. Until next time, I'm Spike. He's pissed off.
I'm Chris.
he's pissed off, Chris.
Unbelievable.
I told you, don't you get me started.
Well, if you guys want anything,
till next time, whowhatwhere at gmail.com. You can visit us on the Facebook page. You can tweet us. You can DM us. You can just sit there and write it on a piece of paper, put it on a brick, and throw it through the windows. I don't care. I'm moving soon. So until next time, we will see you in the back rack video store. So, ta.
See ya.